excited to be here. For those who don't know me, I'm Linda, and I'm an ambassador for PowerToFly. So that's why excuse me, right, a little bit of crackiness and nervousness. It is my first time, so please excuse me. But I think it's gonna be great. And so you know, I have mute you all upon arrival, but please feel free to unmute yourself and participate because this is going to be a conversation. For those who you want to know more about the ambassador program, PowerToFly offers this great opportunity, and you can check more information at powertofly.com/ambassador. And it's amazing, like you're gonna love it. I don't want to spend more time, so I just want to dive into our conversation. I'm just going to go through some housekeeping notes. You can turn on your camera so we can all see your faces and your smiles from all across the world. We are recording this session, so just so you know, like if you're here incognito or you just don't want to be seen, please feel free to write messages anonymously to me instead of everybody in the chat. Remember to participate. This is going to be a conversation. And for no more taking time, I want to introduce you to Lorraine, that she's here with us today. She's going to share amazing things. She's the director of marketing of PowerToFly, and she has seen a lot in marketing, and I can't wait to hear what she's going to say. Lorraine, can you please tell us more about yourself?
Yeah, so kind of shares my bio here. So I'm the director of marketing and community at PowerToFly. I've been with the company for a little over 3 years now. And previously I led the community efforts at the industry leading home automation company, Wink. So, I consider myself a community builder through and through. That kind of got thrown into this marketing landscape pretty non-traditionally, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And like I said at the beginning of the conversation, I'm in the process right now, interviewing and hiring a slew of different candidates. So I feel very, empathetic towards anyone who's going through the process right now. And there are definitely some make or break pieces of the puzzle that I am excited to share with everyone today that will hopefully help you, wherever you are in the application process, be it, just starting to apply or maybe you're interviewing. There are some things that candidates don't even realize that they're doing right or doing wrong. So hopefully we can dive into a lot of those things today. And then of course, want to get to as many of your questions. Hit me with anything you got today and we'll get it covered.
That's amazing. So we have gathered some questions here for the sake of keeping things conversational. But as Lauren said, please feel free to interrupt if you have any questions or if you want to share your story or anything else that you want to learn. So with that being said, let's go to some of your questions here. And I'll say, let's start going into details and seeing our first question. What is the most important thing to keep in mind when preparing for a marketing interview? That's an amazing question. I can't wait to hear your reply to this.
Yeah, so a couple of quick things that are, pretty standard. Make sure you've reviewed the job description. I also like to write down, very specific examples with numerical data that support, a few different bullet points of the job description or specifically their requirements. So, for example, if they want you to, increase the, B2B leads of an organization, write down not only how many leads you were able to generate, but what % increase that you were able to see, what KPIs you were responsible for. Think about all of those metrics that deemed you successful in the role you have now, and how those would how compelling can you make those sound to the person that you're interviewing? they, like I said, especially during this time, are interviewing so many different candidates. They want to know specifically why you are the best person for this role. There are many times during interviews when, I'll ask a question and someone will spit the answer right back out at me, and it's not really the answer to the question whatsoever. So I don't know if I'm ashamed to admit this or if this is a skill set that I have, but I used to do pageants when I was much younger. And, when you did the final question, which is like the most nerve-wracking thing ever. But my coach would always say, once someone asks the question, take 3 seconds, don't say anything at all. Think about the question that the person just said and think about your answer. So you don't feel like you have to immediately spit an answer back out at the interviewer. Listen to the question, take a moment to think. You can even say, I'd love just a second or two to think about that question. It's really great. Think about it, digest it, and then give a thoughtful answer. I can't tell you how many people just get nervous and spit the answer right out at, me, the interviewer, or, I've even done this at times. But if you take a second to really think about, what does the interviewer want to hear? And then, use the metrics and the data that you've prepared before the interview and share that, then, you're really setting yourself up for success and making yourself stand out amongst all of the other candidates.
Wow, that's amazing. Honestly, I've seen myself when I have an interview that when they ask about something, because I'm very nervous to reply the right answer, I just go straight forward. For those that you just participate right now, just to let you know that we are recording this. Lauren is sharing very useful information, so you don't have to keep notes. You just have to sit back and relax, because this is going to be awesome. So I'm going to the next question. I am somewhat new to specific roles in marketing, but I am not new to event planning. The role I'm applying for is titled Community Campaign Events Manager. What skills are transferable, and what learning can I do before I land this role?
Great question. And I laugh because I think this, I don't know, I hope that I'm not, siloed in this thinking, but to me, when I am interviewing candidates and looking at job description, or not job descriptions, rather, candidate profiles, I'm not really looking at the titles of the roles that you've held in the past. Sure, that's all well and good, but what I'm really looking for are, the bullet points in your profile or your resume, or the story that you're telling me in your cover letter. So again, it's, looking at the job description. So what is it saying here? I'm new to specific roles in marketing. So whatever that marketing role is, have that pulled up, but your experience is in event planning. I'm a firm believer that with probably 90% of the open jobs out there, you have a transferable skill that matches up directly with that. Maybe it's not even, in regards to a role, like a job specifically that you've had. Maybe it's volunteer work, or, maybe it's something you did personally, or, I interviewed a candidate a few months ago who, for a social media role, that she had never ran social media for her company ever. But personally, she has taken her own following from, X to Y by doing, all of these different things. So that was just a fun thing she did for herself. She explored new channels. She realized that she really liked this about one channel and didn't like this about another one. Nobody paid her to do that. That was something she just did in her free time. So really what I would do is, I'm a big pen to paper gal. So I print everything. I would print out the job description that you're looking for, and, right next to it, like, okay, you want someone who is going to, I don't know, what's like a basic marketing role, a content manager. So they're going to write blog posts. Okay. I freelanced for blah, 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 or I created my own blog here, or I, helped build copy for this, or, oh, I was event manager. So I wrote, event descriptions for events that had, XYZ people or XYZ viewers. So, again, I think these two roles specifically, so, any marketing role and event planning, especially in today's like virtual world, and we could talk for hours about how important virtual or events in general are to marketing. But they're a lot more cohesive than you think. So take the time to really sit down and map out the similarities, and it doesn't have to be just about past roles, but in holistically speaking in your life, how those two match up, and I think you'll be really successful.
So what you say here is like we should go and list all of our outcomes that we have from previous jobs in order to have a proven experience in the jobs that we are applying for. For example, if I have been working only in event planning, but I want to go to community, I should find some examples from my event planning job so I can show, like I can prove myself that I've done some community management here and here and there. So you say, like you suggest, it's better to show the outcomes rather than just displaying job titles.
Absolutely. You're spot on. There are so many, I think, hidden talents that we all have, hidden successes that we can really unveil when we think a little more critically about, what the person actually wants. So what the hiring manager is actually looking for in this role. I think we're going to get to like a deeper answer to this question in just a bit, but I'll leave it at that.
Amazing, amazing. So let's move forward to the next question. How can you differentiate yourself as an event marketing manager? I have my virtual event meeting management certification, but I don't have any practical virtual event experience. I do, however, have over 10 years of marketing experience. That's a very good question.
Yeah, and I think the answer is very similar to the last question. There are skills that you have honed throughout your career as, so how can I differentiate yourself as an event marketing manager? So, there are probably little things that you've done that, are just commonplace for you. And, I see this in myself all the time, something that I do over and over and over again, once I've almost taught it to someone else, I realize like, wow, that was really special, or that was really unique. So in this case, I think what I would do is, team up with someone, either a friend or a peer or someone on PowerToFly, who you can kind of just talk about your experience with. This actually works too with most transferable skills. If you can transferable jobs rather. Once you can explain, the vision or what you've done, to someone else, you really, they can help you poke out, wow, this was really unique. I've never heard this before. So, aside from everything that I shared from the last question with printing out the job description and matching that to specific skills that, you have either in your role professionally or perhaps in your personal life, tag teaming with someone else who can really say like, wow, you're really good at that, because a lot of times we're really hard on ourselves and don't realize all the special things about us and how unique we are and how unique our brains are to approaching different situations and solutions. So, it's not easy given today's climate, but there are plenty of people out there in the virtual space, I'm sure, that would be more than happy to tag team with you and kind of do that cross-functional collaboration and job description sharing.
That is very motivating, and it brings us hope to all of us, because we say, okay, I have 10 years of experience in marketing, but I don't have experience in virtual events. I see like people who actually are very talented in event management, but as soon as they have a camera in front of them, they just freeze. So I would say, don't be afraid of the camera. It's nothing different. Just feel yourself, do what you've learned to do best. Because as you said, Lorraine, we have so many special talents that we tend to overlook, and we tend to underestimate our powers. And that's how in the job search, we don't project all of our abilities. We have to trust ourselves and trust the experience of 10 and more years many times. So don't be afraid that you don't have experience. Experience comes with time, and you should try.
Yeah, and actually I want to add on to this too, and it's an example that our director of engineering product shared at one of our job fairs. There was a woman who applied to one of our technical roles who actually did not code in any of the languages that we were looking for. And when she applied for the position, in her cover letter, she said, look, I know I don't have any of these skills these specific skills that you're looking for. However, these are the skills that I do have. And this is what I would do with those skills in this position. I'm confident I could learn that language. However, I think the problem could be solved more effectively this way. And we hired her. So I think a lot of times, we have to chalk it up to bravery. How brave are you? How confident are you in your skills? Just like you said, in our ability to kind of take those skills that we've honed throughout our 5, 10, 15 years of experience and bring them to this new thing. Virtual events are very new for lots of people. So just having your breadth of knowledge is going to give you a leg up among many other candidates. So how are you going to take that and prove to that hiring manager, I can do this. I know I can. It's confidence a lot of the time.
I think it's 90% confidence and 10% to show our skills. So just to move forward I haven't noticed that we are actually chatting for 40 minutes. That's amazing because you have so great things to share. I'm just gonna go next one. For someone making a midlife career transition into digital marketing after having just obtained certifications in Google Analytics, individual qualification, Google Ads Search, and HubSpot, email marketing, and looking to land their first digital marketing role?
Yeah, this is a great question. And I, feel this because it's a role that I'm kind of looking for right now. So my advice for you is when you are, creating your resume, drafting your cover letter, and then essentially, putting yourself out there in front of recruiters, my first tip is, focus on the tactical. If you just, got these certificates, you need to practice it in one way or another. So, especially given, the current climate of the world right now, I don't think it would hurt to reach out to small businesses in your local area or, friends that might have companies that you could, quote unquote, practice or try out some of these tactical skills, but get your feet wet so you know the terminology, so you have some proven results. And truthfully, if you can grasp the actual tactical implementation of, the using Google Analytics, using Google Ads search, you don't have to be working with like $1 million budgets here. Just some experience, so you can talk about that, will give you a leg up, because truthfully, a lot of people don't know the tactical bits of digital marketing, and it is so vast. So if you find a little piece or a little niche that you can really shine at, that will stand out during your interview. And then again, don't be afraid to say look, I'm pretty new to this, but just because I'm new doesn't mean that I'm not going to be the best candidate for this role. It makes me even more hungry, even more scrappy. But you have to have some data to back that up. So my first, if you have no experience whatsoever, you just got these certificates, see if you can, volunteer, spend some time with a local business or, someone in your community or someone that and get some actual data to back up your certifications. It will go wonders or go miles in the interview process.
That's great. That's great, because every time I hear digital marketing, it can mean a lot of things. And people say, I want to land a digital marketing role. We have to be more specific in which area of digital marketing. It's going to be digital marketing campaigns, going to be Google Ads. What kind of digital marketing is that going to be? So don't be afraid, just go and learn some of the skills. And actually, I would say be specific in which area of digital marketing. As you, Lauren, said, we have to identify ourselves where we can shine, as you said, in the digital marketing. So to move further, we can see the next question. Creative CV, this is a plain text. Work in the email marketing field and sometimes do my CV in the form of promotional email using the same design as company I applied to. But I'm afraid a hiring team wouldn't consider it.
So this is a great question, and definitely one that is, the answer varies depending on who you speak with. But, what we know about at PowerToFly, and we, of course, do a lot of recruiting for mega enterprise organizations and very small startups. ATSs can really read all text. So whether you're using a graphic resume or, just a plain text Word document, the ATS is going to be able to read it. So that is the plus to both of these. However, what I would say is unless you are applying for a creative role, so designer, I don't know, perhaps digital marketing, some of these more like creative newsletter design, more creative roles, I say like using a plain text resume format is probably going to give you more space. So that means more keywords that you're able to fit in, more copy. And just because it's plain text doesn't mean that it has to be boring either. You can spice it up and use different fonts and perhaps a nice little header. There are ways to work around both. So I would say if we're talking about where you're letting your creativity shine, I would steer more in the direction of functional rather than creative as far as the resume. However, on the flip side to that, there are absolutely ways to make yourself stand out in that application step. So, one, when you're submitting an application, you're literally putting your resume or cover letter or whatever, the company is asking you to submit into this pool of, I don't even know, an abyss of applications. So, even when I'm looking at job descriptions or job resumes that come in, I do look at the resume and I do look at the cover letter, but it's literally for 3 seconds. I think the average time that a hiring manager or recruiter spends is between 3 to 5 seconds on a resume. So that is not enough time to show how great you are. If you are serious about this role, and again, you really can't do this with every job description unless you are committed and have tons of time in the world. But my advice is to go as above and beyond as you possibly can to make yourself stand out. So kind of like the example that I shared earlier. Not only did this woman, explain in her cover letter, I don't have these skills, but I think we can do this, this, and this. She put together a pitch deck on why, these skills were going to be great for her. Many of the job description or the roles that I've hired for, I've required a video to say, I want you to tell me why you're the best person for this role. People have submitted, either projects that say, hey, I've been following PowerToFly for this many years. I've done this. They find me on LinkedIn. They email me. They email my whole team. They really do their due diligence to get into, my space to make sure that I see their application. And something I'm really proud about at PowerToFly especially is that, we keep all of those applications. So, even if you're not a perfect fit for a role right now, as a hiring manager for many of these roles, I say, look, this person clearly cares. They put a ton of effort into this application. This role maybe isn't the best fit, but I think I might have something for them down the road. It just keeps you top of mind for the next position. Maybe that's someone you formulate a relationship with over time, and then they're approaching you for their next role. So, keep it fairly simple with your resume, but think about all the other ways that you can go above and beyond and get directly in front of that hiring manager, and that will make you stand out, I can assure you.
That's great advice, because people think that they can attract some attention if they just put a lot of graphics, a lot of colors, a lot of weird displays and fonts in the resume. But then we must be effective. We must get to the point.
Yep.
What are we all about? And just let our personality and our experience shine. Like, a resume is just a document. We have just to sell ourselves, to market ourselves in other ways rather than adding some graphics, because a hiring manager, as you said, they don't know the candidate. They just see only the document, and they can make any assumptions they want like based on that document. So people, feel free to, it's all right to be a plain text, as long as you just add the right content, I would say. To move forward, this is a very good question, I found personally. I have sent out hundreds of applications, I'm guilty of that as well, over the past year, but haven't landed more than a single phone interview. I've sent my resume to friends in the industry to look over, and they've said it looks fine. So what could be possibly gone wrong with this?
Cool. Great question. I know we're at time, but I definitely want to answer this one and share like my top tip too, for anyone who is in the actual interview process. But so for this particular question, one, it sounds like this person is not crafting the resume based on the job description. And I know, again, that that's very, very annoying. But if you are deep in the job search, something that I recommend is, I have my resume, of course, it's formatted, it's pretty plug and play at this point. I also have a document of skills that go into each, section of my resume, I guess. So, these skills are vast. It's everything that I have done in every job, with KPIs and numbers and quantifiable results. So then when I am, putting my resume together, it's not like such a hassle for me when I'm looking at the job description. So if it's an event manager position, I have all of my skills that I've ever honed. I look for, again, literally Command F, searching for the job description keywords in my document, pulling those skills and putting them in the resume, copy paste, and then fleshing that out with the ones that are important to that job description. So I feel like we always hear time and time again, make the resume custom to the job description, but nobody elaborates like, how the heck do you do that? So to me, that's the easiest way to kind of make that function. And as long as you have built your bullet points out to be really functional, so, they have the exact, quantifiable metrics, what you did, why you did it, how you did it, what you achieved, short but sweet with all that information, such an oxymoron. But then it's literally a copy paste, solution. And I think that will really help this person. What could be going wrong? Again, maybe you're just not getting that foot in the door that you need. So thinking about the ways to stand out, like I just mentioned in the last question, networking, reaching out on LinkedIn to the actual hiring manager or the team. There are lots of ways that you can stand out, especially in this oversaturated market. And always know that even when you do those things, sometimes that role still isn't going to be a great fit, but it is going to help you get that leg up amongst the other competition and possibly put you top of mind for the next role that might be coming up after. I know we're at time, but I do want to share one more quick thing that is like crazy, crazy important, especially during, this time period that we're in with the interview process. Like I said, I've been interviewing a lot of candidates lately, and the interview process that we have here is pretty straightforward. And, we walk candidates through what that process is going to be at the very beginning of the interview process. If you're not asking that question in your first interview, then you're doing yourself a disservice to start, because then you don't know how much time, effort, and energy their team is putting into the process, let alone yourself. So for example, the interview process is, meet with the hiring manager, meet with me, who's the director of the program, then meet with our co-founder, who's like, essentially the decision maker. She's giving the budget to this position. If you get to that last and final step and you talk with the founder of the company or you talk with the director, I mean, you talk to anyone during the interview process, you should be sending a thank you note to these people that you spoke with to say, thank you for your time. Thank you for telling me XYZ about your company. I am really excited and I am the best candidate for this position because XYZ. I cannot tell you how many people do not send a thank you note, do not follow up at all after the interview process, and then come back a month, 2 months later asking why they weren't hired for the role. If you do not show that you are interested in the role, why should we invest more time in you, in moving you through our process? It makes you seem very ungrateful for, the time that we're spending trying to get to know you. And maybe that I'm sounding super curt on that, but I'm being frank, and it's not just me, it's not just my team. It's pretty across the board for the PowerToFly org. Biggest red flag that we see in interviews today is people not sending follow-up and thank you emails. When is a good time to follow up with the hiring team? My cadence would be you send a thank you note literally right after you talk to someone. So you hang up the phone, you write the thank you note, you send it to them. If it's by the end of the day, that's totally fine too. If it's the next morning, that's worst case scenario, but it had to happen. If you don't hear from the hiring manager after that thank you note, even just saying, or whoever you were talking with, just saying, oh, thank you for the note or whatnot, follow up with them 7 days. Hey, I just wanted to reach out. I'm interested in, hearing what you thought about our conversation. I really enjoyed XYZ. And then usually they will get back to you and say, hey, I've been really busy, or, we're interviewing other candidates, blah, blah, blah. After that, I'd say 3 to 4 days if you don't hear back again with more concrete instructions. But it's on you. They don't have to follow up with you. So if you don't take that follow-up cadence into your own hands, then you don't even get feedback from your conversation. And how can you be a better interviewer and grow in this process if you're not getting feedback from what you did well or poorly during that time you spent trying to get land that job? So, follow-up is so important, not only for, the organization showing respect for their time, especially when you're talking to directors and founders of companies, but for your own feedback. And it's perfectly acceptable, and you should be asking for feedback, even if you are rejected from a position. Feedback is a gift, and that's how we all learn and grow. I know we're way over time, but I had to get that out there because, times are crazy right now. So
that was a great insight from your end, because many people, they don't consider that the interviewer, they have scheduled to have interviews with too many candidates. And as candidates, we see, unfortunately, only our perspective as we are one person. But the person who is interviewing us has to go through 100, sometimes 500 applicants and choose whom to interview. So I learned the hard way that I had to follow up for a feedback and ask for a feedback, because I got many times rejected as this fellow friend. And I was wondering what's going on. And then I said to myself, okay, I have to ask for what is going on. And the best way to do it is fall in love with the interviewer and tell them, hey, I really enjoyed the conversation. What do you think? Because we candidates, we are out there. We are trying to get the position. We are kind of fighting for the role because, as you said, it's overloaded the pool of talents. We have to show our best. And guys, honestly, show eagerness so that you are hungry and that you're passionate about the position, because the interviewer, they have the recruitment manager, the talent manager, they have so many things to go through. And if you just show how much you're interested, it's your actually time to shine.
Yeah, and Andrea, just to answer your question quickly, I don't want to say I wouldn't discount them, but like Linda said, if you're interviewing 6 candidates and only one of them follows up, then, that's a huge red flag. Or, you're interviewing 6 candidates and 3 of them follow up, and maybe 3 are moving on to the next step. It's pretty clear to me that those are the top 3 most interested candidates. So it's not a you're done if you don't send a follow-up email. But when you're ranking candidates and saying like, did they do this? Did they talk about this? Maybe you're right on the edge, like between you and some other candidate. How crappy would that be if the reason why you did not get that position was because the other person sent an awesome follow-up email and showed how badly they want this position and you said nothing? To me, I would hate to lose an opportunity because I didn't just quickly say how badly I wanted something. So, you know, that's my thank you note rant. And I just feel passionate about it because it's like something we're seeing right now. So I felt very compelled to talk about it, but happy to answer more questions. I know we're super over time. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's just Lauren Haggerty or Lauren@PowerToFly.com. I really had a great time talking with everyone today, and I hope everyone has a ton of success in their job search moving forward. And I'm happy to help wherever I can.
Thank you so much, Lorraine, and thank everybody who participated today. So to wrap it up, we should just write a resume according to the standards of the application, of the role, of what the company requires. We should adjust our skills and our experience according to the role we are applying for. Having confidence, don't be ashamed, have all the power that's needed, and follow up and ask for feedback. It's not going to harm you. It's only going to make you stronger.
Yes, so well said. Thank you so much, Linda. This was so fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Goodbye, everybody.